If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could I please have a roll call?
Supervisor Alex Apian.
Here.
Trustee Dean Morelli.
Here.
Trustee Greg Vickers, absent. Trustee Karen Johnson, absent. Trustee Denise Salvino. Present. Highway Commissioner Jim Louch.
Here.
Collector Jessica Kennedy. Here. Attorney Gary Mueller.
Present. Thank you. So we have a couple items on the Road and Bridge Fund agenda today. So the first item is for the approval of minutes. That is for the monthly meeting of April 2nd, 2024, as well as the bid opening meeting on April 12th, 2024. I will need a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Denise Salvino,
I'll second.
second by Dean Morelli. Do you have any questions on either sets of minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on now to the approval of bills. I have bills in the amount of $147,748.46. I will need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Denise Salvino,
I'll second.
second by Dean Morelli. Any questions on the bills? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, could I please have a roll call?
Sapien.
Yes.
Morelli.
Yes.
Salvino. Yes.
Do we have any citizens wishing to address the board tonight? Please state your name for the record.
It's Warner, north end of Lockport Township. One question, when does French pickup start?
I believe May, and I can't recall what date falls on Thursday and Friday, but I believe May of this week.
It's coming up with this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Seeing and hearing no other citizens, we'll move on to the first approval on the Road and Bridge Fund. Is we have an approval to upgrade the lighting system in the building. Now we do have some friends here today. One is Dave, the senior maintenance from Lockport Township, as well as a representative from the electric company. So we could have just a little bit of thoughts to hear about this project.
First of all, my name is Pete. I am a ComEd service provider. I am a project manager for the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. Thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to put together these assessment reports. I was first called in back in March to see what the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program had to offer for Lockport here. And talking with Dave and walking in, talked a little bit with Jim, there were three areas that there was expressed an interest, actually four, but three that I was able to do some assessments on, and I have that information right here. I'd like to just pass out, just so you see what it is specifically that I'm looking at. And what I'm handing out here is simply what I call my count sheet, okay? And my count sheet is basically what I give to our electricians when they're here. It gives them kind of a roadmap as to what it is that we're looking to do. But I thought it would be a good idea for me to hand it out to the people here because it'll give you a good idea what I'm talking about instead of just talking about in general. The information at the top is just general information for ComEd's purposes, and then there's some notes under that. The ComEd needs a lot of pictures. I swear I must do more time taking pictures sometimes than anything else for ComEd. But anyway, right under that, there's a small section called General Notes. And these are some notes that are, some items that are brought up to me that I wanted to make sure I addressed here and why I put together this assessment the way that I did. Now, this particular project sheet that you have is for this building that we're in right now. And I walked through here, I walked through this building with Dave back in March, and he mentioned to me that the interest was in just going with new fixtures, actual fixtures in the bathrooms here, but everything else, what you see here, these are called 2x4 flat panels, to actually, instead of going with new fixtures, to actually, instead of that, replace them with LED tubes of, as you can see here, it kind of look like, you know, sometimes my teeth after they've been pulled, they have different colored lights here. And there was an expressed interest in having them all be uniform, so that you don't have some white, some yellow, some orange, and all that. And of course, we can do that with the LED tubes. Those LED tubes, they all have, the tubes have 5-year warranties on them. The other thing that I wanted to mention is there is a relatively new product that came out last year called network lighting controls. And I highly recommend using them for 2 reasons. One, you basically get, because of the incentive program, you basically get those at about no cost when they do all the juggling with numbers in the system. But also, it's a very, very good energy saver. You could look at it as a glorified motion sensor for all intents and purposes, but it does a lot more than that. Each one of these fixtures with the LED tubes in them will have its own network lighting control. And what that does, it's not just a simple, okay, when there's motion it turns on, and if there's no motion it turns off, and it saves electricity. One of the things that it does is there are some areas, if you maybe have a larger, darker area that not many people go through. And if you walk into an area like that and all the lights are off, it's kind of creepy. Now, what you can do with these network lighting controls is you can set just some of those fixtures to maybe go down 50% or 10% or 90%. So you always have some kind of a night light, if you will. So there'll always be some type of light in there. However, I think the biggest advantage of this is what's called daylight harvesting. Daylight harvesting, well, this room would be able to utilize it somewhat, but mostly what that means is that it will take this sensor. You know, we're looking at putting in the 60-watt tubes in there, before tubes, equivalent to 60 watts of output. Currently, these are putting out, if they're all four being used, 96 watts. So there's your savings right there per fixture. But what else it'll do is, if it's on at 100% for the sake of an easy example, you'll have your 60 watts of energy of light coming out. Let's say it's a very bright sunny day, window shades are up. These network lighting controls will utilize that ambient light, and it will automatically take the light fixtures and the tubes, I should say, and actually dim them down so that you're still getting your equivalent of 60 watts of light, but you're not using the 60 watts of power because it's using the ambient light to make up for that. So you're not wasting energy. So that's going to save you more energy, and it does it automatically. That's the second reason I really think it's important for the network lighting controls. And because it's a fairly newer item, what ComEd does is newer technology. They tend to give a very nice incentive on it. And as years go by, the incentive becomes less and less, but they really like to promote it a lot. So I'd like to utilize that. So basically, as we go through everything here, it's kind of self-explanatory for this building, your pantry and kitchen area, the front half of the downstairs here, and the back half and so on and so forth. You'll see the existing lighting that you currently have in there and the quantity of fixtures that out. It's amazing. And a 4-lamp fixture such as these, if they were all on, you would have 4 tubes. ComEd wants to know how many tubes are working and how many are not. That takes some time. So that's where that out, you see 21. So in other words, in the pantry and kitchen, you have 21 fixtures. There's a total of 48 lights total in there, 48 tubes, 4 times the 21. Or I'm sorry, that would be 84. 21 of them aren't working. So there you go. So we would then replace that with the 4 C-lamp tubes, LED, with the lighting controls, and we will replace them one for one, and so on and so forth. So there's just my notes here. The other thing I would like to do, and Alex, if I may, I will just leave this with you. These are the spec sheets, if anybody is interested, and I think Jim, you may be interested in everything. These are the spec sheets for the items that I'm proposing that we use. The tubes, spec sheets are on that. I made a notation on those spec sheets as to, because there's many, many different types of tubes. You know, you have 4,000 K for, you know, the lighting color and so on and so forth. And I put a little dot next to each one that I'm specifically suggesting that we use for your purposes here. The other thing here, now this is a copies of the assessment report. This is the actual report from ComEd regarding what it is that's being proposed. You may already have a copy of it, but not yet. And I'll leave just the summary page, the top page for everyone else to take a look at it. That's pretty much a summary of everything. So what you see here is that the entire project cost for the improvements, a little over $23,000. And this is all, I should say, there is no hidden charges in here. Oh, you want us to actually take out the garbage? No, that's actually included in that. All fees for recycling the old tubes, for all of that is 100% turnkey. Now you'll also see under that on the right side, it shows you that the cost of selected improvements being a little over $23,000. ComEd will pick up a little over $12,000 of that, and what they have is they call it an early bird program. Boy, I wish they'd used another term for that, but it's at the beginning of the year. What ComEd will do in their energy efficiency program is they will sometimes add an extra incentive to get, you know, people off the rails, so to say. Hey, you want to do it? They kick in an extra 15% above and beyond what their normal incentive is. So in this case, it would be an extra $1,800 some. So for this particular building and everything we're looking at, the total 23,000 plus cost would actually, the out-of-pocket to Lockport would be about $9,000 some, $9,400. ComEd will pick up the rest of that. Just to the left, you'll see something that's called benefits overview, just a little bit more than halfway down. Basically, that 4.9 years, that is ComEd's estimate if you were to do these improvements and your out of pocket of $9,400 some is used for this. You would see that return in savings on your electric bill in just under 5 years. So if you're gonna be here more than 5 years, which I think it would be, it'll pay for itself in just under 5 years for this particular building. I guess at this point, it would be best to see if there's any questions that anybody has regarding this particular project or this building.
So thanks, Pete. Just kind of to add on to what you were saying, I think there's like two parts to this improvement plan, right? So there's the improvements over, for the garages over at the highway department.
Yes.
And then there's the improvements here in this building for the township building.
That's correct.
So for the township building, which, that approval will be in the town meeting coming up next, but that's $9,400. And then for the highway department, I think the costs are a lot lower, it's $906.
Yes, yeah, I have that also here that I'll pass out. It just, it's the way that the incentives work out. Basically, I take a look at, I have all the comments software, of course, being a service provider, and it's my job as a project manager to figure out for the businesses and communities and organizations that I work with, what is the best bang for your buck that I can get using which programs, because ComEd has a bajillion programs and they come and go throughout the course of the year. And so this is what I put together. What I handed you over there, Alex, was this is the Neighborhood Electric, by the way, is the electric company that as a project manager I'm choosing to use for your projects here. They are a ComEd, of course, certified company. They were trained, all the electricians that are trained by ComEd to go through their program. The thing I wanted to make, that I want to make mention about the ComEd program for their lighting, they do more than just lighting. They do HVAC, if you have any old HVAC units that need replacing, that type of thing. ComEd will help pay for that too. I use that as an example in as much as the way ComEd's energy efficiency program works. They require that a higher than normal standard be used in equipment. Just as an example, I've worked with some smaller companies that went with Chuck with a truck, which is fine. I mean, those guys are great. But a lot of times, these HVAC units, they get from Menards, you know, the low, and they give them a great price, the customer a great price on these. ComEd requires that a high efficiency unit be used. They do not want to put their name, the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program name, on a subpar piece of equipment. They'll have none of that. And so that's why the fixtures, all fixtures, if we go with fixtures, they get a 7-year warranty. All tubes get a 5-year warranty. And when I say warranty, I mean if something goes wrong, call me, and that's it. I'll take care of it. I'll make sure you get what you need as a project manager. So that's everything for this building. For the highway department, oh, I know you like this one.
Yeah, I like the numbers.
Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about. Now with the highway department, I was, Randy was the individual I was walking through the area with. I know, Jim, you know that after we met, you had to get back to me too. So I walked through everything with Randy. And this is my count sheet, which then again gives you the entire scope of work of what we're looking at. Every area, every room, what it currently has, what I am suggesting that we upgrade it with. So if you have any questions about that, what any of this equipment is, any of this material, let me know. Again, I do have the specs on this for those that are interested in that type of thing. One of the, I just reminded myself, one of the items on here, and I have the specs on it. If anybody wants to take a look at the actual items. is a no condensation, the no condensation drain for the air compressors. That is just a piece of equipment that will save energy on your air compressors. I specialize in the lighting end of things, and that is how come I work with a number of other ComEd service providers who specialize in the HVAC, the refrigeration, and so on and so forth. And I work together with all of those to put all of this information together. The assessment report, because of the items that we are using, comes out to a very nice amount that ComEd is actually picking up on this. Again, there are some other people of this, but you can share them with family and friends. You're good with that. Here is the ComEd summary on the assessment report. This total project, now this would be for the 111 South Avenue facility. That total project, as spelled out on the account sheet, a little over $11,000 complete turnkey. ComEd, with the incentive bonus, will be picking up just about all of it, except for $906 of it. The return on investment on that is not even a year because of your savings in the electric bill. Are there any questions?
Where's the fine print, Pete?
You got it, your answer. Well, actually, the fine print, Alex has it, because Alex has the whole 6-page with the legalese in there, which I don't even read and understand it, but, you know, ComEd attorneys have to, I guess, work for their keep, so they put that together. No, the way this works is if there is, if you all would like to move forward with any of these, taking into consideration that ComEd is picking up, well, in this case, for this project, just about it. But sometimes, again, it's just the way the numbers work out and what they have incentives for and how much they are. Sometimes they'll pick up 25% of a project, up to 90% of a project, and everything in between. Since ComEd is picking up the cost on that, the way this works is if you all want to move forward, all I need is an authorized signature based on whose ever name is on the assessment report. ComEd is very particular about that. In other, Jim, I have your name on this report for your facility. If Alex were to sign it, ComEd wouldn't approve it because his name's not yours. We're very finicky about that. But what would happen is if you want to move forward, pretty much from the day I receive the signed agreement, which is on the assessment report, the way things look right now, it will probably be, and I'm being a bit conservative about this, it'll probably be about 4 weeks from that time that we'll actually be able to physically start the work on your facility. It takes ComEd about 2 weeks to go through all the paperwork, to approve everything, to make sure all the numbers are right. They don't trust me. I don't trust anybody, why should they? They're ComEd. And then we have to wait, depending on the situation, our electrician's schedule, the availability of product, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I give it about 4 weeks. Now, we would be able to start, once ComEd gives their approval and says, yeah, this is good, we can go. What I require is whatever the out-of-pocket amount due is, that is what I would need in order to purchase the equipment and schedule the electrician. So the $900 in your case, the $9,000 or whatever in this case. And sometimes the question will come up, or the comment, more so than a question, will be, and I'll just use this building as an example, such as, you know, hey Pete, wait a minute, you're saying that you know, we need to pay $9,400 before you even start. It's not half up front and, you know, half when we're done. Well, the truth of the matter is ComEd's actually picking up more than a half, so this is less than half up front from the whole project. And once the project is completed, you got nothing else to pay. We'll wait the 4 months for the ComEd incentive check to come to us. When this first started many years ago, the business would have to, the incentive check always went back to the business, kind of like any, like your Menards 11% rebate. You know how that works. You always have to wait for it to come to you. It's now worked out where we, as the service providing company, will take the time and wait for that check to come to us to then complete, you know, our payment. So, any questions about your facility?
No, I don't.
The last item is small, very small. There was an interest in the 123 South Avenue building. I believe that's your salt barn.
Yeah.
And going through that with Randy, from what I recall, there's one light in there right now.
Yeah.
He was talking about maybe adding a couple of extra lights to that.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that in this case, we are not actually saving any energy by going from a type of a light that's not very energy efficient to an LED. We're actually adding lights. Unfortunately, ComEd does not provide an incentive for that because we're not actually saving energy. We're actually going to use a bit more energy, but still, all in all, the numbers on that, it's a total of $1,700. And I don't have an assessment report because there's no ComEd assessment for that.
I like the idea of upgrade the lighting.
Yeah, and again, the way I did this, here is the, like I said, there's no comment report that has to be signed, but that is the neighborhood electric paperwork that basically would need to be signed if you're interested. And I'll give you the other one.
Just want to let you know that the address is wrong for the highway department. It's 111 South Avenue. Is that for the other one?
The
Okay, after
123
the
is the
salt.
other one.
My bad, I'm
That's,
sorry.
no, that's
So hold
okay.
on a minute.
And the thing, believe me, that, I
Now I
have
got it.
to take exactly what the comment bill states, even if it's wrong. I'll see bills that you all send me that will actually have an obviously wrong address on there, but ComEd doesn't care. They make the assessment report. I have to set it up with it, because if I throw a curveball at them, they're like a deer in headlights. You know, they'll just freeze, look in, and not do anything. But anyway, that is for all three projects that we were talking about. And the only other thing that I don't have anything for is, James, you had mentioned to me that there was an interest perhaps in about 5 or so streetlights. If you still want us to look into that, I will. All I would need is where the streetlight's located. I'll bring one of our head electricians out to take a look at the area. I'll work with him and put together an estimate.
Actually, I just need to talk to you about that. The county had called me. They have a program. We just need to mesh with you and them.
Sure, absolutely. You just tell me what you need. If I'm not sure what it is, I'll make it up. It usually works out well. So, any other questions about anything? Be more than happy to answer. You can always get a hold of me. I will. Yes, I do have my card somewhere. I'll just leave my card with my contact information. You can get a hold of me for anything.
I have one question.
Sure, it's M-I-C as in cat, H-U-D-A. Sure.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
No.
Okay.
At least I think.
We're having some Zoom issues, so the web link has expired.
We,
Greg can't get in, but she got in, so can she hear now?
Trustee
I can
Johnson?
hear you, but you can't hear me, huh?
Now
We
you
can
can
hear
hear
you.
me. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. One question. I noticed on the assessment report toward the bottom, it says that it's good for 30 days, and it looks like it's dated in March.
Yeah,
So we may need
yeah. No, actually, that is, I'm sorry about that. That is from a pre-made template that has the 30 days on there. In actuality, what is really needed is for this 15, and you're right, it does say that, but no, the prices are still good, what's on there. The program, that energy, the extra 15% incentive, that is good until May 31st. Actually, it was originally set up only until March 31st, but they extended it to May 31st. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to have everything completed by May 31st. What that simply means is by the end of business that day on May 31st, I have to have the pre-application, which is basically the assessment report that you sign. I have to have that sent in with all of my paperwork to ComEd before the end of the 31st, in order for the extra 15% to kick in.
Okay, good.
I guess my business here is complete, unless anybody has any other questions. I thank you all, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can you let Trustee Lucas know? I just sent him away. We are having some issues right before the meeting. But, okay, so quickly I think Pete just left. But just to quickly reiterate what he said, essentially we have two approvals. So one is just on the Road and Bridge Fund meeting, and then the second one, that's over in the town meeting. So those are two separate approvals. I know we kind of discussed both. But it essentially is just modernizing both building entities and making it more energy efficient, and it's also going to save us any money in the long run. I know Pete just left, but does anyone have any questions?
Well, it's a good deal on that.
Okay. Well, hearing no other questions, could I entertain a motion to approve to upgrade the lighting system in the building?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise
I'll
Savino.
second.
I have a second by Karen Johnson. Madam Clerk, could I please have a roll call?
Sapien,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Salvino. Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to the Highway Commissioner's report. Commissioner Lodge, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a couple of things. Many months ago, we looked at new trucks. I'll be just getting that first truck delivered this week, one out of two trucks. The second truck should be delivered by year end. We're Peterbilt trucks, and we need them for snow removal. They'll be replacing a 1989 and a 1990, I believe. We recently completed some roads early this spring, Dawson Avenue, Techie Drive at Bolton College View, on the north end of Lockport, Bluff Street, Table Street, West Street, and then Thorndale Court on High Road, up a High Road, LaSalle Court in Fairmont. We also had just purchased a radar traffic sign. We get many calls, and Alex and I discussed cars going through the neighborhoods. Of course, we're not law enforcement, but we thought we'd be proactive in getting a radar sign that flashes when you're over the speed. I know when I'm going down the road and it starts flashing, I know I tend to slow down, so I'm hoping this will help. And that we purchased that for I think it was about $4,000, maybe a little over. And we split the cost between us. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you. I think that was a good example of teamwork, because I did email your office, Commissioner, that I've been getting some feedback from residents saying that they have seen improvements, so it's good to see, you know, working together and we're seeing improvements already.
It's currently on Thornton, as you head east, so if anybody wants to check it out.
Well, I have no other business for Road and Bridge Fund. Do you have any final questions or thoughts from the board? Aaron, how are we doing with the Zoom?
I had sent you the Zoom we had on the web page. I had also sent another link, and I told them you just sent me one, so I'm waiting for him to respond.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Well, in the meantime,
Oh, he's on.
there you go. Trustee Dickus, can you hear us? Can somebody else closer to the microphone try?
Greg, can you hear us?
He's got himself on mute.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Good.
All right, thank you. So we were just finishing up the Road and Bridge Fund meeting. But for now, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Denise Salvino, second by Dean Morelli. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, Road and Bridge Fund meeting is adjourned. Moving on now to the Town Fund. So we have a couple items on the agenda today, but the first one is the approval of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes today. We have the monthly meeting for April 2nd, 2024, special meeting for March 25th, 2024, and then the bid opening, that was on April 9th, 2024. I will need a motion to approve these sets of minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvino, second by Dean Morelli. Any questions on any of the sets of minutes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on now to the bills. I have bills in the amount of $230,281.39. I will need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvino. Second by Dean Morelli. Do we have any questions on the bills? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, can I please have a roll call?
Sapien?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Salvino?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Dickus?
Yes.
All right, motion
So
carries.
I just want to make sure, are we going to be as remote participants? I'm not out of town for business, so am I a valid participant for this meeting?
No. Gary? Correct. So should I not?
I'm out of town for family.
So are you going, he's not talking about family, are you just going to keep muted, or?
Yes, I can keep muted. I just want to listen in.
You want to listen in? Okay,
Okay.
fair.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, bills are approved, so thank you. Do we have any citizens wishing to address the board tonight? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the clerk's report. Madam Clerk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Supervisor. I just had to ask a quick question. Do we have to go back since I did include him in that roll call?
That's a question for the attorney.
Is it okay? Because Greg was technically not, because I was not aware of,
You didn't include it as part of the forum, so it's fine.
it's okay. It
I'm just
wouldn't matter.
acknowledging.
It passed regardless.
You know, you're acknowledging that he's present.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. We've been very busy at the clerk's office in the past month. The annual town meeting took place on Tuesday, April 9th, with 10 people in attendance. The township's statement of economic interest requirements were completed by everyone by May 1st. My deputy clerk attended 2 continuing education classes on Excel training at Joliet Junior College, April 8th and 15th, and she completed the new mandatory state training for her notary public renewal. We've had a record high of over 150 people in for notary public services in the last month and have distributed over 50 baby diaper bundles. We've been preparing for our 4th annual Community Fun Day, which will be held on this Saturday, May 18th, 2024. This event will be held in the community center as well as outside. We have over 50 participants, including outdoor features of the Will County SWAT Bear Truck and a school bus to explore. The Lockport Township Fire Department will return with a fire truck as well. We're excited to welcome back the magic of Greg Miller and the 501st Star Wars characters. The Lockport Township Park District will be arriving early on Friday, May 17th, with tables for us to borrow. Food vendors include Manja Pizza, Little Deb's Mobile Eats, and Los Razos Mexican Grill. Both cash and credit debit cards will be accepted. Manja Pizza will be cash only that day, but are celebrating the community with offering reduced pricing for pizza slices and pop of $4. The magic shows will be taking place at 10:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Veterans Memorabilia Cabinet unveiling will be at noon. We're really looking forward to this great event. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any comments or suggestions from the trustees tonight? Going on, we'll move on to the building report. So, quick update on the new garage. So, the new garage did go out to bid on April 9th, 2024. Just quick little recap. We actually only had one bidder for the garage. We did everything accordingly. It went out in the newspaper. We had one bidder for the garage, and believe it or not, the bidder was the previous bidder that had won the project. So that was the only bidder.
Correct.
Now, I have spoken with the attorney, and given their interactions with us, and given how they withdrew in their last bid, we can determine that they are not the responsible bidder. So, having spoken with the attorney, we will be not accepting this bid. Now, interestingly enough, just a couple days later, over the past 2 weeks, I've been getting calls from contractors saying they'd like to bid on this project. Now, I do not, I don't tell them if there's another bid date coming or any more information. But having said that, I'd like to try just to send it out to bid just one last time, because otherwise there's not much more that we can do. So I'd like to send out to bid one last time. I have spoken with the clerk about some tentative dates, and right now we're eyeing, it was like the first week of June, but we'll go from there. Any questions?
Not really a question, just maybe a comment. Obviously, there's one bid that's an issue, we're trying to figure out why it was that. I know we had discussed 2 different, basically wood and steel type buildings and 2 different sizes. And I'm just wondering if that, if you present the contractor with, you want to bid on 4 different types of buildings, maybe they're like, that's too much to look into. I don't know. I'm just saying, if we can, as a board, make a decision on what building we want and what we want it built with, and put that out for bid, maybe we will get more contractors to bid on it. It's just like a suggestion or a thought, because like I said, it is kind of confusing on how a building like that, which you would think would be something that would be up contractors, alley, close to home, kind of simple and shouldn't take that long. Now with the weather as it is, why there was only one bidder.
Where was it published in, like, local Herald? Was it published in the trade?
It was published in the Labor Record, it was published in the Herald, and then also the Will County Contractors Association, through the architect, he was supposed to contact them and provide them with that information. And I'm not sure how if they have a site that they just post, similar to like what IDOT does. It got out there. They did not bid on every aspect that we gave, you know, the 4 options, they didn't do all 4.
Yeah, I do remember, because it's a point of relevance, that those 4 designs that folks could bid on. So there was, of course, the 2 different sizes, like was it like 70 by 30, and then the 40 by 50. And then there was also the pole barn, and then the wooden frame each, so that's 4. So at least of this one bidder, they bid on both sizes, but they only bid on the wooden frame, they did not bid on the pole barn.
I think technically you can just pick what you want as a
Right.
board then. So they don't have to submit all 4 plans if they don't want to, and this one did not. They can have the option to submit for whatever they want, and if you decide that you want, that's what it seemed like was okay to be.
Do we have any other thoughts or suggestions from the board? Because otherwise, if not, I think we'll just send this out to bid one last time. I will have to reach out to the architect for a new legal brief that they'll send out. But again, I am the first week of June, and we should have an update at the next meeting, the June board meeting.
So we're gonna send out a bid for the 4 setups again, at 2 different times, 2 different.
But I personally would be receptive to just keeping it to the wooden frame. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, but it seems like from the previous iteration, from last year's bid, it seemed like the wooden frame was also a more popular one. But for this, I guess I open it up to the floor for discussion. If folks feel that would have some sort of impact.
The last time around, they submitted for both. There was only 1 measurement and 2 choices.
Okay.
Yeah, so the only confusion with that was the one contractor had switched
Oh, sure.
in error.
Well, it sounds to me like there's not much of a preference, so we'd like to keep it as all 4. So it sounds like we'll just keep it as all 4. But maybe I'll ask the architect to emphasize that, to make a bid, you don't need a bid on all 4. Those are
Maybe.
just optional.
Mhm.
So I'll just have them include that. All right, we're moving on to our list of approvals. So, first item for approval is similar to what we did for Road and Bridge. We have the Neighborhood Electric Incorporated Customer Sales Agreement. So this one, pretty similar to the garages over at the Highway Department, except here we have, a lot more light fixtures to go through. So the total amount, and this is an amount that's in everyone's packet, it sums up to a little over $23,000. However, after all of the incentives, the copayment does go down to about $9,400. It seems like the break-even point where this will pay for itself in a little under 5 years. Do we have any questions or thoughts from the board? Hearing none, can I please entertain a motion to approve the Neighborhood Electric Incorporated Customer Sales Agreement?
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Karen Johnson,
I'll second.
and a second by Dean Morelli. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can I please have a roll call?
Sapien,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Salvino. Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on now to the next item on the agenda, we have here to award a contract for Riley Avenue Drainage Project, and this is for the lowest responsible bidder. So just for a little bit of a reminder and for context, the Highway Commissioner and I have been working with Will County Land Use regarding a drainage project in Riley Avenue in Fairmont. So this is something where in the past we've approved a resolution. We also received, a fully funded grant from Will County. So that's all taken care of. Now, we did go out to bid on April 12th, and there were several bidders. Now, again, as our RVO ordinance goes, we have to award to the lowest responsible bidder. Now, technically, normally we don't have to approve this. We just grant it to the lowest responsible bidder. However, given that this is a grant coming from the county specifically requested that we approve and actually have a contract on file And the contract is a template that they actually provided. All we did was fill in the blanks with, who the contractor was, which is PT Barrow Construction, and then the amount that they bid, which was a little over $381,000. I did have the attorney just look over this. Contract seems pretty straightforward. Again, we're not doing anything fancy here. We're just approving the contract to go to the lowest responsible bidder. Any questions or discussion on this? Nope. Hearing none, could I please entertain a motion to award the contract for Riley Avenue Drainage Project to the lowest responsible bidder, PT Farrow Construction?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvina,
I'll second.
and a second by Dean Morale. Madam Clerk, could I please have a roll call?
Salvino? Yes. Sapien?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on now to the next item on the agenda, which is Resolution 2024-2, which is to transfer excess funds from the tax refund that was approved on October of 2020 to the senior, back to the senior fund and town fund. So a little bit of context is, again, as the name of the motion implies, back in October of 2020, the board at the time approved a large tax rebate in the total of $1 million. At the time, there was a time frame given for residents to request said tax rebate. Now, it has been almost 4 years, and so it was actually the township's accountants that brought this up to us, saying that, hey, there was originally $1 million, we are now left with $80,000, and it's sitting in a checking account, not accruing any interest, and the time frame has long passed. And the last time anyone even asked about, said tax refund was May of last year. So it's already been 1 year. So the accountants, they encourage us to just transfer the remaining $80,000 back into the town and senior fund, and we have to do it proportionally. So for that, it does require a resolution, but for now, I'll open up to discussion from the board. Do we have any?
No, that's fine. I mean, if the accountant says it's a great idea, then I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Well, the accountants were the ones that proposed this. So, all right, well, hearing no other questions or thoughts, can I please entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2024-2?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvina,
A second?
second by Dean Morale. Madam Clerk, can I please have a roll call?
Sapien?
Yes.
Morelli?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Salvino? Yes.
Motion carries. On now to the next item on the agenda. So this here is for support for an event for the city of Lockport. So I have been speaking a bit more with the city manager for the city of Lockport. We've been discussing for ways in which the township and the city can continue to work together. Now, in the past, the township has supported the city of Lockport, through financial support of the auto show or the car show, as well as the Christmas in the Square, and that totals about $6,000 every year. So they mentioned that there is an event coming up this summer. I believe it's on June 22nd is when it starts. It's like a summer art series, and they were asking to see if the township would be willing to support. So for that, I'd like to point to our budget. We did approve a line item for $20,000 to support other city collaborations. Again, about $1,000 is to be used roughly to attend any State of the City events, so State of the City of Lockport, State of the Village of Romerville, and then the remaining $19,000 is a split more or less equally between the three cities, which is Romerville, Preston, and Lockport. Romerville, so far, we've supported with the Bunny Bash event, and also, we purchased tickets to attend the Village of Romerville State of the Village event. City of Lockport, we expect to receive some sort of letter for the car show and the Christmas event. We usually get that around June or July. So again, that's $6,000. So, but for that, I'd open it up to discussion from the board to see if there's interest in supporting this event.
Did we get something in the packet about that, or is that just discussed?
Is that not in the
It's
packet?
this.
Oh, that's, okay.
I'm amazed at how many typos there are in the question.
Any questions or thoughts from the board?
If we support this, it would probably take us to our max if we're saying we're splitting evenly between the three.
My personal thoughts is very early in the year. I mean, we can help the cities in kind of whichever events they have. We can choose to support this event. We could also add on that remaining amount and add it on to the Porcelain Christmas in the Square, or if there's another event. I'm kind of just weighing the benefits. I mean, the event looks great and we could support the city, but it really kind of just seems like there's like a ribbon cutting and we go and that's kind of it. But I'm personally just indifferent. If the board would like to support this event, that works. If you'd like to table it and maybe support through another event or increase support in another event, I'm good with that too.
I'd lean towards holding off and maybe put it towards something else. In my opinion.
Does anyone else have any thoughts?
I agree as well.
Yep, I'm hearing consensus among the board members present, so if I could entertain a motion to table the support for the City of Lockport's event. And we'll table that to next month.
I'll make that motion.
I will-
Do you need a motion?
We'll table it.
Table it?
Yeah, we do.
Just to make it clear.
Yep, I have a motion by Denise Salvino,
Second.
second by Dean Morale. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, we will table this to next month, and, we'll determine if there's other events that we can support. All right, moving on now to the last point of approval. And I'll be pretty thorough here. But here, I've mentioned this before briefly, specifically at the special meeting we had when we discussed the budget. But I have here a spreadsheet, and it's a proposal I have for the board regarding a back-to-school fair that I'd like the township to host. So I know in the past, as in last year, the township supported, a back-to-school fair with Representative Avalar, who's the state representative in this area. Now, I do think that it is important for us to support back-to-school fairs. I do think it is also very important for the township to have their own fair, separate from other officials or organizations. And so I did a little bit of, did a little bit of research. And so in terms of back-to-school fairs that are happening in the area, the Park District doesn't have one, neither does the high school. Representative Avalar has hers at the end of July, but again, hers is more so focused towards Fairmont. The back-to-school fair I'd like to have is just one that's open to everyone in the township and all communities. So I have here a breakdown of what the items would be, as well as, food, etc. In terms of budgeting, so in the budget, if we look at children's events, there's a line item where previously that line item was set for $10,000, and that was to support the events like Community Fun Day, Trunk or Treats, and the Children's Winter event. And history has shown that that's been enough to cover even contingency. But we've increased that line item to $15,000, as I brought up briefly before, and that is in hopes of having, one, if not two more children's events, in this fiscal year. And so one of the events I thought would be appropriate would be potentially a back-to-school fair. We actually coordinated a bit with Lockport Township High School because we are having some of their students here, and we asked them for a list of the most commonly requested or used items, and they did send us this list. We then looked at what it would look like to purchase these items in bulk, specifically for, I listed as 100 families, but it's really 100 students. And so I have the cost breakdown, and then in terms of food, we would just keep it really simple. We'd have popcorn. McDonald's is willing to come here and just provide their items at cost, so like $1 for chicken nuggets, $1 for a cheeseburger, etc. And then we could also just have balloons. And so then the total, if we include, contingency and some miscellaneous, we're at $2,250. In terms of other organizations we have there, I want to keep it very minimal. I don't want to have just another very large fun day. I want to keep it to maybe 3 or 4, and the main 3 I have are, one, the police department that said they'd be willing to be here and hand out stickers. Second is the park district that said they'd be willing to come here and hand out some gift cards. And then third would just be the White Oak Library, just to promote the receipt. So in terms of kind of advertising, there's a reason why I'm requesting approval for the proposal now as opposed to in June or July, and that's because I'd like to have our summer newsletter mailed out by early June. And so for that, I advertise this event in the newsletter versus if we waited to approve it in June, it'd be a bit too late and the word might not get out there. So that's my thoughts for the proposal, but I'll open it to the floor for discussion.
I know you said it would supply 100 students. I'm just trying to figure out where we get that number. Just because of this. You're thinking mostly grade school age kids, correct?
Sure. It was, I think in general, the kids who tend to come are grade school. Now, the kids that are in the building, those are high school age, but they still require these same supplies. That's kind of the overlap. So what 100 is more so just kind of just a number we came up with. There's not a whole lot of reasoning other than I know in other back-to-school fairs, for example, Representative Avalar, they serve about 300 families, but that was also the 3rd year having it. So I figured 100 was a good starting number, and I was kind of aiming for a budget of about 2,500, so that would allow us another 2,500 for another event. That's where we came up with 100, but we can certainly adjust it.
Yeah,
And are we trying to, because I know at Fairmont, even though Fairmont's in our township, the majority of people who came through were from outside of our township area. So are we, since they're calling ahead to reserve a spot, are we trying to make sure that we are serving our township students?
Yes. There was 2 reasons behind the calling ahead. One because that is the process in which we kind of confirm or allow people to come to the breakfast, the Veterans Dinner, et cetera, is to confirm their address. And then second, it allows us, 1, to have a good head count, but then 2, it just allows us to reserve those items and kind of control the volume of people coming. What we don't want is, say we have 100, we will know that we can supply to 100 students, but we're not going to advertise that. And what I don't want is to all of a sudden have 500 people come and, 30 minutes into the event, we're out of supplies. So really it's just, I want to point out in the, ad that we'll have in the newsletter, it says you have to call ahead to make a reservation, and we will be confirming addresses.
Does that eliminate walk-ins?
We could have walk-ins.
Those say walk-ins.
Right, we could have walk-ins, but we would have to check their ID. I could eliminate
Walk-ins allowed, okay, yeah.
Right.
And if you get more than 100 that are gonna call in to confirm, then we may need to make adjustments to this? Or are you gonna cut them off and turn people?
What I was thinking is, because this is a budget proposal and I have to have the board approve this specific number, I included a little bit for contingency miscellaneous, but it's $2,250. So given this current proposal, it would be, if we had more than 100, I would just have to politely tell people, we'll put in the flyer while supplies last, call ahead, and that'll just be our nice way. And if hey, we get more calls, then we'll know for the following year we might do more. If the board thinks that this might be a more popular event, we can adjust the budget and increase this amount to say 3,000 or 3,500, but I currently have it as just call ahead and do it while supplies last.
And if you have a cutoff date, like call, by June 28th or something, and then you're having it, on July 15th, that way we can be prepared.
Yeah, we could do that. For date and time, we were eyeing, and this is after discussing with both the high school teachers, as well as the clerk and the assessor. We thought sometime between mid-July, end of July, but I was now leaning more towards the middle of July, and that would have to be likely during the week, but scoot more towards the afternoon. I've discussed with the clerk possibly having it around 3 p.m., from like 3 to like 6 p.m. And this would be, again, middle of July. But I think the date and time is the least of the delays here.
But you will have to know to put it into the.
Right.
Right, and the school supply lists come out in June, so they already have them all set. They're gonna come out in June, and people, especially that don't have a lot of funding, they start buying in June. And as soon as that list comes out, we're going, every time we go, we're buying something,
And in terms of the newsletter, so the summer newsletter, I'm being ambitious and saying we're gonna release it the first week of June, but just being pragmatic, let's say the middle of June. I will say, whenever the newsletter comes out, we see a significant increase in our calls, in calls received. That's questions regarding the bracelet, the lockbox, etc. Now I know it's mainly seniors making those calls, but I like to believe that it's just residents reading it in general. And even if it is just a certain demographic reading the newsletter, word spreads pretty quickly. So I know our senior breakfast and event dinner, etc. We're booked up like 1, maybe 2 weeks max after the newsletter comes out. So I feel like for this event, if the newsletter comes out, say the second week of June, I think we'll probably be booked by July 1st.
Do you think that's more effective to reach the people of the community than sending a flyer to each school to be sent home with the students who are in our community?
Sure. I mean, I think we could do both. We do have a good relationship with the high school, and we do have good relationships with the schools in the township, because we do have to reach out to many of them for, one, providing art that we have in the art wall, and two, the scholarships. So I feel like we could do both.
So I just know sometimes you're a young parent.
Right.
You get the newsletter. I know the seniors,
Right.
They know what's gonna be in there and they wanna, RSVP, but I know sometimes I get something and it kind of goes in a pile and I might forget about it. But I always went through my kids' backpack religiously.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we could do a flyer as well.
The virtual backpack.
I'll make that motion to host and support the inaugural Lockport Township Back to School Fair.
I'll second that motion.
Before call for roll call, Gary, do we need to specify the amount? In my proposal, I have the amount of $2,250.
You can, yeah, like a not to exceed.
Okay. So in that case, Trustee Salvino and Trustee Morelli, could I have you rescind your motion, and then could I entertain a motion to host and support the inaugural Lockport Township Back to School Fair, not to exceed $2,250?
I'll rescind my motion, my first motion. I'll make a motion to host, for the amount you said.
Not to exceed 22.
Not to exceed 22.
And I'll rescind my previous second, but I will second the new motion to support the back-to-school budget proposal not to exceed $2,250.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could I please have a roll call?
Salvino,
Yes.
Sapien,
Yes.
Morelli.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries. I will have my staff and I will work on this, and we will get a date to all of you as soon as possible. Thank you. Moving on to now new business. So we have a little bit of new business to work through, but so the first item on new business is actually received news from the state Senate here in the state of Illinois that there was a Senate resolution, which is SR 0629, that they passed actually a memorial for our late clerk George Musher Jr. So I just wanted to share that to the board, that I thought that was really nice of them. This Senate resolution was made on behalf or courtesy of Senator Rachel Ventura, who is the state senator for a good chunk of this township. But I wanted to present this to the board. Unfortunately, the senator could not make it as the Senate is in session, but I thought this was really nice. I'd like to include it in the minutes, and then we'll also frame this resolution and add it up to the wall. And this is also a good time for me to remind the board that if anyone knows of any township officials that may have passed away and they'd like to add any memorial tokens, to please let my office know. All right, next item on the agenda is a mental health update. So back in our April meeting, the board approved a full agreement with ThriveWorks, where essentially we were moving away from solely paying for those that are uninsured, and we were expanding coverage, so that included folks on Medicaid. So I will say that, so in January, February, March, we were getting up to 2 residents that were using the program. I don't have a report yet, it is coming soon, but for the month of April, it jumped up to 14. And of those 14, 12 were on Medicaid. So this program has jumped up and has increased, and I would imagine it's going to continue at this rate, if not grow. Again, the agreement was fully signed, and there will be monthly reports that ThriveWorks will be generating going forward. So we will be seeing a breakdown. We'll be seeing 2 reports. One will be seeing a breakdown of sessions made in that month, and then we'll see a cumulative one for the entire year. Any questions on the mental health program? Moving on to the next item, the summer newsletter. I've been bringing this up, but I'd like to move our newsletters from a biannual cadence to a quarterly frequency. I did budget for this at our budget special meeting, and I mentioned it briefly when we have our line item for projects and media. I have been speaking with local printers, and I got a really nice quote for now a 16-page newsletter. So versus our previous vendor, when we included printing, mailing, and postage, we were at about $25,000 for a 12-pager. For a 16-pager with a local vendor that is still prevailing wage and union, altogether for 16 pages, including postage and mailing, they were quoting us closer to $16,000. So given that this is just like a summer newsletter, it's kind of almost like a guinea pig. I'd like to try it with this vendor. They also do the newsletter for DuPage Township, so they've been tested before.
Who's the local vendor?
So Forest Printing. So they do the newsletter for DuPage Township, and that's how I received recommendation, mainly because with our current vendor who still does our letterheads and the other 2 main newsletters, I think we were just having, I think one of the challenges was just kind of lead times. It takes about 6 weeks for printing, and then an additional 2 weeks for mailing and sorting, and then the additional 1 to 2 weeks to get them in everyone's mailbox. So, for example, for the spring newsletter that was mailed out like end of February, we had to submit that by Christmas time. So that was 2 months ahead of time, versus with these folks, at least with what it's been with DuPage Township, the minute they submit the final proof, it's in everyone's mailbox by the end of the 2nd week, because they do all the printing and mailing and sorting in-house. So I think it'll be a good opportunity for at least for us to see. But on this topic of summer newsletter, I did send an email to the board where I'd like to add some new pictures of the board. So if you have any pictures you'd like to add on that trustee page, please feel free to send it to the office. Again, we're looking to send this out before Memorial Day weekend. Moving on now to Community Fun Day. I know the clerk talked about this, but Community Fun Day is happening this Saturday, May 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be in the building. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. And then on the same day, during the same event, we are unveiling the Veterans Memorial Cabinet. Tony from the VA office is running point on that, but that'll happen around noon. I know we've been spreading the word, and there's been a few folks that have been contributing to the cabinet already. And then, yeah, we already have some folks that are coming, so that should be a nice event as well. Another event that we're having is, so at the end of the month, on May 29th, we'll be hosting the job fair. So last August, we hosted a job fair in partnership with the Workforce Center of Will County, just part of Will County government. And so we're having another one towards the end of the month. One thing that makes this a little bit more special or unique than the previous one is we have some partnerships. We have some of the union locals that were interested in attending. And they'll be there just discussing and also offering opportunities for folks that are interested in union apprenticeships. So at the moment, we have the carpenters, the painters, the electricians, laborers. We also have the plumbers. We have more to come. And then we also have military recruiters there. So from this, all the service branches will be there as well. We'll also have other employers. And then another neat thing is we'll have someone there giving out professional headshots for anyone interested. So we actually, I reached out to the high school, and they actually included this flyer in their newsletter because this week is coincidentally the last week of high school, and so I know in particular some senior students might be interested in learning more about, especially union apprenticeships. So, but we have been spreading the word, so if you know anyone, please let them know and send them over to this event. Another event we have coming up, the Canal Days Parade, that'll be on Friday, June 7th. More details to come, but I figured I'd put the word out just so we can get just a little bit of a head count to see who will attend the parade. So I'll probably send out an email tomorrow to ask the board who's able to come, and then I figured we'll also do a request for the shirts as well. I know in the past everyone's kind of done their own shirt, but if you like the new shirt, please let me know, and I think it'd be nice if we could all match. I know it falls on the same day as Gun Awareness Month, so I'm not orange, I think it'd look pretty nice. I have one, so I'll send an email out tomorrow, and then please let me know as soon as you can, so we can get you a shirt. One more event, and that's not on here, but I'd like to add on, because we mentioned it before, but so the State of the Village for Romeoville, that will be on Thursday, May 23rd at 11:30. I know a couple folks we already got a head count and bought the tickets, but just as a quick reminder. I don't have any other old business. And I don't have any meetings and correspondence. Do we have any final thoughts or questions from the board? All right, hearing none, could I entertain a motion to adjourn the town fund meeting?
I'll make that
I
motion.
have a motion by Denise Salvino,
I'll second.
second by Dean Morelli. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
All right. Town fund meeting is adjourned. I think the last two agendas should go by fairly quickly, but we have senior fund meeting. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes for a monthly meeting of April 2nd, 2024. I will need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that
I have
motion.
a motion by Denise Salvino,
Second.
second by Dean Morelli. Any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the bills. I have bills in the amount of $61,225.86. I will need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvino,
Second.
second by Dean Morelli. Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, could I please have a roll call?
Johnson? Yes.
Salvino? Yes. Morelli?
Yes.
Sapien?
Yes. Do we have any citizens wishing to address the board tonight? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to the bus report and new business. So if we look at the bus report, that's in everyone's packets. But for the month of April, we actually had quite a few trips. Now that the weather is warming up, we have a lot more calls and a lot more requests for bus service. But we have 563. We have 563 trips this month. It was a very, very busy month.
Snowbirds are bad.
And we had 22 days in which the bus was operational. And so that makes our average rides per day to 25.6. And so our average rides per month for 2024 Last month it was at 462. This month it is now up to 437. Any questions on the bus report?
Do you have a status on their new bus?
I have a very brief status, other than, I don't have any more, an advanced status, other than they're supposed to be coming in the middle of June. But I'll reach out and see what else, but we're supposed to be getting in the middle of June. Oh, but on the topic of buses though, so, I did have one of my bus drivers actually, so we currently have 4 bus drivers, and each of them are part-time. So what they do is each bus driver works about 20 hours, so in total we'll have 2 bus drivers working 1 week, and then the other 2 bus drivers working the second week, so they're kind of tag teaming. So one of my bus drivers is retiring in the middle of, I'd say the 3rd week of June, and they were courteous enough to let us know. Now, one of our other bus drivers that fills in said they'd be open to going, to expanding their hours, so going from 20 to 40. Now, I think that's, their performance is excellent, so I think I'll likely do that. However, I will say now that times are getting a bit warmer, I do know that a lot of the bus drivers do have some vacation. And now that we're down to 3 bus drivers, it'll be a lot more difficult to have folks kind of fill in. So there is a very high chance that I think I'll put out just a job posting for a part-time or a backup bus driver. So we have the job description already, so that's not as urgent because there's not a huge need for it, but just thinking, being proactive, that's likely a job description or a job posting that'll go out later this week. And we'll do it, as it's described in the handbook. We'll list it on the website, social media, we'll do an interview, etc. But I literally did just find out yesterday, if I want to let the board know. Moving on now to the Ovation Center. So we did speak about the Ovation Center a bit more in depth at the April board meeting, and kind of the thoughts I gathered from the board. We had some differing opinions, but still some strong opinions. And I think after thinking through it and some further conversations, it seems like in order to reach an agreement or consensus as a board, we'll likely have to work through this for a couple more months and then add on a potential amendment to the budget, which would add on at least another month and a half or 2 months. So having spoken with the Ovation Center, I think it makes more practical sense to postpone this idea until next year, given that we are so close to the end of the term. And so whoever that new board will be, they can decide to pick up this idea. But for now, we think the Ovation Center is cooperating with us, but it seems that right now is not the right time. Last bit of new business, Senior Expo. That is happening on Wednesday, June 5th, and that'll be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I did include a flyer in everyone's packet, and we have reached out to the senior communities, and it is in our newsletter. But we have a lot of the same usual events and entertainment and amenities, and then we do have a shred truck there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So spread the word if you can. Any final questions or thoughts from the board? Well, I have no business, so hearing no questions or thoughts, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the senior fund meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvino,
Second.
second by Dean Morelli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The senior fund meeting is adjourned. Last meeting for tonight, general assistance. We have 2 sets of minutes. One is the monthly meeting. One is for the monthly meeting of April 2nd, 2024. And then second, we do have a release of executive session minutes for October 10th, 2023. I will need a motion to approve these sets of minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvino,
Second.
second by Dean Morelli. Any questions on either sets of minutes?
I would just, the executive session that was approved by our attorney.
Yes, sir.
All right, hearing no other questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries and minutes are approved. Moving on to the approval of the bills, I have bills in the amount of $18,733.39. I will need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Salvino,
Second.
second by Dean Morelli. Any questions on the bills this month? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Sapien,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Salvino,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries, the bills are paid. Moving on, do we have any citizens wishing to address the board tonight? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to the GA report and new business. So, GA report, it looks a little bit more complex this time around, but I promise you it's not that complicated. It's just, I had to include some additional notes, mainly because our schedule for meetings has been a little bit different, right? Because normally we do meet on the second Tuesday. The past 2 months we've met on the first Tuesday. And so whenever we need to get the agenda and the bill list ready, that needs to come out at least a week beforehand. So there are some bills that we have to pay in the last month of March, but they don't factor in until April, and we don't see them until now. So I did include just, I'd say 3 reports, but it's really just one large report. We look at just the first page that says GA tracking up at the top. If we're just looking for April, we had a total of 10 cases. So we have 1 that's still currently in progress. We have 5 that were denied for both general and emergency assistance. We had 1 that was approved for general assistance, which is the first layer of financial assistance. And then the remaining 3 were approved for emergency assistance. So if you look in April, right below, it says approved cases. There is a list of the 4 that were accepted. First one being general assistance, the next 3 being emergency assistance. Made a quick little note, so emergency assistance case 2 for shelter. So when it's something like that, when there is an emergency, so in this case, not to go into too much detail, but when there is an emergency, when we need to place someone, for example, in a hotel, because for that we need to pay via credit card. The credit card bill isn't due until a specified period. So this will be paid, at the end of this month, but it won't appear until June. So I'm just bringing that up. And then if you look below, I have cases for late March. Now, I did not include these cases. These were cases that were included in the, in the March counts or in the April count. But in terms of, money, they are on the bill list for this past month. But they are not on the report. I did not double count them. So, quick little explanation. First emergency assistance case, that was water. But for this particular resident, they used their funds to pay for 2 bills, but 1 was paid on time, or 1 was paid in March. The second was paid again after the deadline that the bill list was due. The second case, so emergency assistance for shelter, this was approved back in March, but because again it was paid via credit card, was not until April. And then the last 3, all 3 of them were paid on March 28th, which is right after the bill list was due again for the April 2nd meeting. So again, I have these here just for full transparency, but if we look at the next 2 reports, we see the numbers add up. If we look at grant disbursements on the second page, it says the total amount we dispersed in GA is a little over, almost $4,200. So that adds up to the first sheet if we add up the end of March and the full month of April. And then finally on the third page, which has the header of system activity report, again here it says we worked through 10 cases, which is what we did in April. The total amount of aid given for just the month of April was $22.80.72. That again matches exactly what we have in the usual report. And again, so this first report, that one was made manually by myself. The last 2 are, were produced directly via Visual GA. Do we have any questions on the GA report? All right, well, I don't have any old business. Do we have any final questions or thoughts from the board before we adjourn the meeting? Hearing none, could I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Denise Alvino, second by Dean Morelli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.